Shias believe that Ali and his descendants are part of a divine order. The Shia also strive to live according to the Sunnah, or example of Prophet Muhammad, as interpreted by the teachings of their hereditary imams. In addition, they recognize the ongoing leadership and strive to follow the guidance of the imams, who are responsible for interpreting the faith, as well as improving the quality of life of those who refer to them. The Shia affirm that the Prophet declared Hazrat Ali as his successor to lead the Muslim community on several occasions. The most well-known of these is the Prophet's declaration at Ghadir Qum. The Prophet and his followers were returning from his final pilgrimage to Mecca when he asked them to stop at an oasis called Ghadir Qum. It is recorded in both Shia and Sunni hadith collections that Prophet Muhammad spoke to the gathering. Towards the end of his address, he raised Hazrat Ali's hand and said, "He whose Mawla I am, Ali is his Mawla, man kuntu Mawlahu fa Aliun Mawlahu." The word Mawla can be interpreted to mean friend, client, or master. Based on several contextual reasons, the Shia accepted it to mean master, and that Hazrat Ali was designated to assume the leadership of the Muslims after the Prophet's death. The Shia also believe that the Holy Quran mentions the higher spiritual status of the imams from the Prophet's family. For instance, Allah says that He wishes to purify the Al-Bayt, the people of the Prophet's household. In the Quran, Allah has also raised Prophet Ibrahim, and his descendants above all mankind. Prophet Abraham is believed to be the ancestor of many prophets, including Prophet Moses, Musa, Prophet Jesus, Isa, and Prophet Muhammad. This means that the imams from Prophet Muhammad's descendants are among those whom Allah has raised in status. The elevated status of the Al-Bayt is also supported by a well-known saying of Prophet Muhammad known as Hadith al-Thaqalain, or the Hadith of the two weighty matters. The Shia uphold that the Prophet is reported to have said, "I am leaving among you two matters of great weight, the Book of Allah and my kindred, the people of my house, Al-Bayt." Similar versions of the saying are found in both Shia and Sunni hadith collections, including the Musnad of Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Sahih Muslim of Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj. Other sayings of the Prophet explain Hazrat Ali's role as a spiritual guide. One such saying is, "I am the city of knowledge and Ali is its gate. Whoever desires knowledge should enter the city by that gate." Over the centuries, several branches of the Shia have emerged, primarily as a result of disagreements on succession. The largest branches today are the Ithna Asharis, the Ismailis, and the Zadis. His Highness the Aga Khan is the present Imam of the Shia Imamiyyah Ismaili Muslims, tracing an unbroken lineage back to Prophet Muhammad through Hazrat Ali and Bibi Fatima, peace be upon them, the Prophet's beloved daughter. The origins of the split between the Sunnis and the Shia lie in the events which followed the death of the Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad was understood to be the messenger of God who, in the early 7th century CE, commenced to proclaim the Quran, the sacred scripture of Islam, to the Arabs. In the 620s Muhammad and his followers were driven from his hometown of Mecca and settled in Medina. About a decade later, when he appeared at Mecca with a large army, the Meccans surrendered the city to him. In 632 the Prophet became ill and died. Muhammad's role as God's messenger was the basis of his political and military authority. The earliest sources agree that on his deathbed Muhammad did not formally designate a successor or make public a plan for succession. Some members of the Ummah, Muslim community, held that God had intended for that spiritual link, and the political and military authority associated with it, to continue via Muhammad's family. Thus, they held, Ali ibn Abi Talib the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law should have been the Prophet's immediate successor and, thereafter, members of Ali's family. Others, however, maintained that with Muhammad's death the link between God and humankind had ended and the community was to make its own way forward. At the Prophet's death certain members of the Ummah then composed of those who had left Mecca for Medina with him and those Medinans who later converted to Islam met and chose Abu Bakr as Muhammad's successor, Khalifa, or Caliph. Abu Bakr in turn designated Umar ibn al-Khattab as his successor. After Umar's assassination in Medina in 644, Uthman ibn Affan was chosen as the third caliph. Amid charges of corruption, Uthman himself was also killed, in 656. Following his death, delegations of the earlier Meccan and later Medinan Muslims, as well as Muslims from key provinces in the by now quite large Muslim empire, asked Ul to become the fourth caliph. He accepted and made Kufa, in modern-day Iraq, his capital. Opposition to Ul's leadership quickly arose from Uthman's clan, the Umayyads, and from others who were angry at Ul's failure to pursue Uthman's murderers. In 656 a group of challengers to Ul, led by Muhammad's third wife, Isha, were defeated at the Battle of the Camel by Ul and forces from Kufa. Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, an Umayyad, and the governor of Syria, refused to pledge allegiance to Ul. In 657, at the Battle of Ifn, Ul agreed to arbitration with Muawiyah, effectively conceding his claim to be the sole leader of the Muslim community. A further meeting in 659 led to a split in the caliphate. Some, especially Syrian, elements declared for Muawiyah, while others, especially Iraq-based elements, supported Ul. Ul's willingness to negotiate his status created resentment among his followers and gave rise to a renegade movement known as the Kharijites for their withdrawal, Kharij, from Ul's following. In 661 a member of this movement attacked Ul, who died 2 days later. Muawiyah was then recognized as caliph, even in regions that had been supportive of Ul. The term Shah itself means party or faction, and the term first appears with reference to those who followed Ul in the wars that he fought as caliph against the Umayyads. In these years the family of the Prophet, al-Bayt, continued to be the focus of attention for alternative leadership among those within the Ummah who were upset with several aspects of Umayyad rule. One such aspect, for example, was the acceptance of non-Arab converts to Islam, called Mawali, drawn from among Iranians, Turks, Egyptians, Indians, Aramaeans, and other non-Arabs. The Mawali, even after their conversion, were still required to pay the head or poll tax, jizya, required of non-Muslims. They also paid a higher rate of land tax, kharaj. The number of Mawali grew as the empire expanded, and many were settled in Iraq, especially in Kufa. Tribal elements from southern Arabia where, prior to Islam, dynasty-based kingly succession had been common also were sympathetic to the notion that the Prophet's family should continue to have a special role in the life of the Ummah. Indeed, the Quran itself, collected and collated only during the reign of Uthman, contained references to the special place of the families of prophets previously sent by God. The term al-Bayt, which refers to Muhammad's family in particular, appears in Quran 33:33, for example. In various authoritative statements, hadith, ascribed to the Prophet, Muhammad himself spoke of special roles for Ul in the life of the community. Some Sunni collections of the Prophet's statements include the report that Muhammad stated that he was leaving behind two precious things, thaqalain, that, if followed, would produce no errors. The first was the Quran itself and the second was al-Bayt. Shiite sources also say that the Prophet designated Ul his successor at Ghadir Qum in 632 when he said, "Whoever takes me as his Mawla, Ul shall be his Mawla." The exact meaning of Mawla in this saying and whether it refers to a leadership role remains a matter of dispute. At Ul's death some of his supporters therefore transferred their allegiance to Ul's two sons through Fatima, the Prophet's daughter. His son Hassan abandoned any efforts to promote his own caliphate. In the aftermath of Muawiyah's death in April/May 680, Ul's younger son, Husayn, refused to pledge fealty to Muawiyah's son and successor Yazid. At the request of supporters in his father's capital city of Kufa, Husayn left Arabia for that city. Nevertheless, the Kufans failed to rally to Husayn's cause as he and his small band of followers approached the city. The Prophet's grandson and most of his retinue were killed by Umayyad forces at Karbala, now also in Iraq, in October 680. Following the death of Husayn, Kufa witnessed a series of anti-Umayyad Shi'i risings. In 685 al-Mukhtar ibn Abi Ubayd al-Thaqafi, a nephew of one of Ul's governors, rose to proclaim Muhammad ibn al-Anafiyyah's only remaining son by a later wife, Khala bint Jafar al-Anafiyyah, as imam, spiritual and political leader, and as the messianic figure called the Mahdi. Al-Mukhtar's identification of Ibn al-Anafiyyah as the Mahdi marked the first use of that term in a messianic context. After some initial victories, al-Mukhtar's rising was crushed in 687. Ibn al-Anafiyyah himself died in 701. Some maintained, however, that he had not died and was in occultation, Gaiba, that is, alive but not visible to the community. Shia Islam is the second largest branch of Islam. It holds that Muhammad designated Ali ibn Abi Talib, r. 656-661, as both his political successor, caliph, and as the spiritual leader of the Muslim community, imam. However, his right is understood to have been usurped by a number of Muhammad's companions at the meeting of Saqifah, where they appointed Abu Bakr, r. 632-634, as caliph instead. As such, Sunni Muslims believe Abu Bakr, Umar, r. 634-644, Uthman, r. 644-656, and Ali to be rightly guided caliphs, whereas Shia Muslims only regard Ali as the legitimate successor. Shia Muslims assert imamate continued through Ali's sons Hassan and Hussein, after whom different Shia branches have their own imams. They revere the Al-Bayt, the family of Muhammad, maintaining that they possess divine knowledge. Shia holy sites include the shrine of Ali in Najaf, the shrine of Hussein in Karbala, and other mausoleums of the Al-Bayt. Later events such as Hussein's martyrdom in the Battle of Karbala, 680 CE, further influenced the development of Shia Islam, contributing to the formation of a distinct religious sect with its own rituals and shared collective memory. Shia Islam is followed by 10 to 13% of all Muslims. The three main Shia branches are Twelverism, Ismailism, and Zadism. Shia Muslims form a majority of the population in three countries across the Muslim world: Iran, Iraq, and Azerbaijan. Significant Shia communities are also found in Bahrain, Lebanon, Kuwait, Turkey, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, and the Indian subcontinent. Iran stands as the world's only country where Shia Islam forms the foundation of both its laws and governance system. Shia religious practices, such as prayers, differ only slightly from the Sunnis. While all Muslims pray 5 times daily, Shia Muslims have the option of combining Dhuhr with Asr and Maghrib with Isha, as there are 3 distinct times mentioned in the Quran. The Sunnis tend to combine only under certain circumstances. After Mecca and Medina, the 2 holiest cities of Islam, the cities of Najaf, Karbala, Mashhad, and Qam are the most revered by Shia Muslims. The sanctuary of Imam Ali in Najaf, the shrine of Imam Hussein in Karbala, the sanctuary of Imam Reza in Mashhad, and the shrine of Fama al-Mama in Qam are very essential for Shia Muslims. Other venerated pilgrimage sites include the Qadhimiyya Mosque in Qadhimiyya, Al-Askari Mosque in Samarra, the Salah Mosque, the Great Mosque of Kufa, the Jamkaran Mosque in Qam, and the Tomb of Daniel in Susa. Most of the Shia sacred places and heritage sites in Saudi Arabia have been destroyed by the Al-Saud Wahhabi armies of the Ikhwan, the most notable being the tombs of the imams located in the Al-Baqi cemetery in 1925. In 2006, a bomb destroyed the shrine of Al-Askari Mosque. In the early 21st century, some 10 to 13% of the world's 1.6 billion Muslims were Shiite. While it is true that most Iranians are Shiite, up to 95% of more than 73 million people, most of the world's Shia are in fact not Iranian. Iran's Shia constitute perhaps 40% of the total Shia population. The Shia account for the majority of Muslims in Iraq, 65 to 70%, and Bahrain, 65 to 75%. There are also large Shia minorities in other Muslim countries, such as Lebanon, 45 to 55%, Kuwait, 20 to 25%, and Saudi Arabia, 10 to 15%. In Afghanistan, between 10 and 15% of Muslims are Shiite, and in Pakistan the Shia represent between 10 and 15% of the population, or some 17 to 26 million people. The Pakistani Shia may be the second largest Shiite community in the world, after the Shia in Iran. About 2% of the population of India is Shia, that is, some 16 to 24 million people. The Shia can also be found in Eastern Africa, Nigeria, Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, and Singapore, Europe, and North America. The Shia are even found in Israel and the Caribbean. Among all the non-Iranian Shia, 12 form the majority. The Ismail Shia are the second largest group. They believe that Ismail, the eldest son of the sixth Yuzaynid Imam, Jafar, did not die but went into hiding and had a son Muhammad, who also went into hiding or died. The Ismail community then fragmented. The Nizari Ismailis, numbering some 5 to 15 million adherents, are the largest remaining group of Ismailis and follow a living Imam. Aga Khan IV became the 49th in the line in 1957. Today Ismailis are found in Pakistan and India, Central Asia, the Middle East, and East Africa, as well as Europe and North America. The smallest of today's three Shia groups are the Zaydis. They fragmented into different groups, some relocating to sites in modern-day Iran. The Zaydis believe that any meritorious member of the Prophet's household can publicly assert a claim to be the Imam. Zaydis follow a living Imam, although the most recent Imam died in 1996. Zaydis represent about 35% of the Muslims in Yemen, but there are also Zaydis in Saudi Arabia. Thank you for watching this video.